Yeah.
Okay, well, we're now on, so here we go. So we were just deciding what to do for our open here.
A little opening chat.
Yeah, Coffee Twalk with Linda Rickman.
I mean, I just think people kind of enjoy a little talk, and then we get into something more serious as we go.
Yeah, just a little gentle, good morning. How are you?
Yeah. Oh, by the way, everybody out there, if you're in the cold temperatures, go check your tire pressure.
Yeah. Apparently mine was down today. So our mild schedule change is we're going to shift our uploads to Sunday mornings. So the episodes will now come out every Sunday morning by 6 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. So that'll shift our recording schedule a little bit, but just be prepared for that shift for this episode specifically. The computer gaming episodes will still upload by Monday morning. Everything else remains mostly the same, but this episode we're just going to shift it a little bit. That's just a mild programming note.
Yeah, I think just schedule-wise it works out better for both of us.
Yeah, it's just smoother, nicer, makes the world a better place.
Mm-hmm.
Sunshine, rainbows, unicorns.
Well, I mean, we are recording in daytime now, so the lights won't shut off on us anymore.
That's true.
I mean,
6 o'clock won't roll around unless we record a 4.5-hour podcast.
That would be insane.
Oh, I know.
And that's going to be what, Star Wars?
We'll have to split that thing up. So the other thing apparently is it's allegedly, what is it? You said it was.
I think it was
David Bowie Day.
David Bowie Day.
Hold on.
That's his birthday.
Let's
Google it.
Let's use the power of the Google. David Bowie birthday. His birthday is January 8th. You are correct. He was born in 1947. He died interestingly enough, he was born on January 8th, 1947. He died on January 10th, 2016.
Mm-hmm.
So that is interesting.
Yeah.
And Bowie is one of the unparalleled singers, even actors. I mean, he starred in the movie what movie
Labyrinth?
was it? Labyrinth, which
that's one we can cover one time.
Yeah, Labyrinth is a fun one.
That's layered in meaning in that movie.
Yes, agreed. So yeah, David Bowie.
The Prestige, that little bit.
Oh, okay.
He played Tesla.
He was in the Prestige.
Yeah.
I must have blinked and missed him. I don't know because there was the Prestige and there was a couple of other movies.
The Illusionist. They all had the similar themes.
They were themed similar. I was like, okay, all right. Somebody in Hollywood got a bug and was like, I gotta write this story.
If I remember right, they started off on the Prestige first, which I think it was a Nolan, one of his movies.
Oh, okay.
And one of the other studios got a hold of the idea and then ran out The Illusionist really fast with Edward Norton.
Oh, okay.
And then the Prestige came out afterwards. So it was one of those things haha, we beat you to the punch.
But they really didn't. I remember the
Prestige is a fantastic movie.
I remember the Prestige. I don't remember The Illusionist. So that tells you what you need to know.
And the book, The Prestige.
Yes.
That it came from is an amazing read, too.
Okay.
So it's one of those things, if you guys are curious, go check those out, please.
Right. That's a good suggestion. Read more books. It'll grow your brain.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, let's get started. We're going to play our banging intro, our slapping intro, our rocket intro, bounce along in your chair, couch, and or car. If you're flying a plane, please don't bounce along with our song because you might be asked to sit down and put your seatbelt back on.
Or get stranded in Mexico.
Yeah, that's the Canadians, man. And it wasn't the Canadians. It was Canadian social influencers and Canadian social media stars. There are 100 of them still trapped, because no airline wants to fly them because they were absolutely behaving like fools. Mm-hmm. Google that if you want to see people behaving like children and absolute idiots.
Yeah.
And I don't use that word very often, but idiots is a word. We'll be right back for a non-idiot review of Batman 1989. Coming back at you here on Nerds Best Greenlight.
Get nerdy with me. Talk nerdy to me. Get nerdy with me. All I really need for you to do is just please.
I get so.
Talk to me. Talk nerdy to me.
Was that the start?
This is the start now.
Okay, now we're in the start.
Now we're live and lock and loaded, ready to roll. Okay, so Batman 1989. Oh boy! So we both watched it. I watched it last night. Finally,
I watched it weeks ago.
Yeah,
I did my homework
he did his
that
homework
week.
on time. I'm late to the party, of course. But
and then the holidays hit and everything kind of got messed up. Sorry about that, folks.
I don't know. I'm not sorry. I am sort of sorry. I apologize profusely from the bottom of my heart, the depths of my soul, and the far reaches of my mind. Anyway, so Batman 1989. This is the last time I saw this movie when I was younger.
Yeah.
I think I was a kid or a teenager. And I remember just loving it and having all these memories of it.
Yep, same here.
And I think it's an interesting thing because when you quote unquote grow up and you become like an adult,
Yep.
And you start to look at things more critically, things change. And I think it's worse for me because I'm a language arts teacher, so I look at everything through a critical lens where I like basically interrogate everything I'm seeing and hearing.
Yep.
And so,
see, I have to turn that off and on.
Because
like people, like I am so critical here.
Yeah.
I've heard some of my other friends that listen to us like, James, you're just so, why are you coming down so hard? Well, it's because I'm asked to kind of by this project.
Right.
So it's like I have to turn on all the critical switches.
It's in his contract. He signed
normally,
it. It's in contract.
Like every day to day, I'm not. I'm super relaxed. I don't really care.
He's a bundle of joy.
I'll sit there at like a coffee shop and wait for like an hour for my coffee.
He's like a Care Bear. He's like a Care Bear that glows. That's James regularly. Then he sits on this podcast and he becomes Teddy Ruxpin on a bender.
Yeah, and I look like I'm the mean one that's critical and all the time, judging everything. It's like no. Normally,
it's angry James.
Yeah, no.
Let me put on my angry eyes. It's like, all right, James, all right.
So that's my defense is that I normally am not like this, like as critical as I am.
We just rile him up.
And then
he's like a bull. We poke him with a bunch of prods, and then we release him onto the podcast. And he's just like,
well, no, you guys say it's like hey, you want me to be the critical guy that kind of looks at stuff. Well, here I am.
I'm the hero you deserve, is basically what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm
the hero
I'm the Nolan Batman.
You just, as long as you don't push me off a skyscraper and to die on the ground like a Harvey Dent.
Oh yeah,
that's what he did to Two-Face, wasn't he? He like kicked him off or he, whatever. Anyway, on to the actual Batman we're talking about.
Yeah.
So we both experienced this. We talked about it in the coffee shop a little bit earlier today, but it is a weird experience that first 20 to 30 minutes of Batman.
Well, it's a weird just stepping back to this movie because I think we both, it'd been a long time since either one of us watched it.
Yep.
And so we had those nostalgia glasses.
Yeah.
We're just kind of like, yeah, this movie's going to be kind of like great and whatever. And then you start watching it and you're like, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that Tim Allen, like,
yeah,
from
exactly.
Yeah. What? Or like from like, oh gosh, Shakespeare. That is not what I was going for.
I was like, where are you going?
Scooby.
Scooby and Shakespeare put together. Are we going to watch?
Scoob Shakes. Shake Scooby. Shakespeare Scooby. Shakespeare do.
Are we going to do Macbeth with Scooby-Doo as Macbeth?
Scooby or like Scooby? I don't know, Scoobs.
Yeah. Oh no, Scoob! You killed your dad, Scoob!
Oh no, Claudio!
Oh god, yeah.
That's actually a project that I would do. I would take Scooby-Doo, and I'm sure someone's already done it, but take Scooby-Doo, Shakespeare, and just boom, put them together. I can do Scooby-Doo. I can do a moderately passable Shaggy, but I can't do anybody else. We're
gonna have to haul in guests.
We're gonna haul them in. We're not even giving them a choice. We're just gonna like go and kidnap them in the Scooby-Doo Mystery Machine. It's anyway. We have gotten off topic once more.
Yeah.
Let us return
to Batman.
To Batman, not Batman Returns, but return to
next
Batman.
episode, folks.
Next episode. 1989 Batman. Yeah, it's. Here's the thing. So I wrote when the credits roll, the iconic music that we have come to know and love. Yeah, dun dun dun. It's awesome. Like you just go, I'm back, baby. Here we go. And the way, so it's interesting when you watch a lot of movies now, the credit sequence isn't really there anymore. And it's even with television shows, like they don't have that intro, and this one does, and it's kind of cool how it works because it's like the Stargate intro, where it's like going over pieces of the Stargate, and it's like the music and the characters are being introduced. With Batman, they're going like the camera is panning over different parts of this thing that you don't know what it is quite yet.
Yeah.
And it's the music's playing and it's saying starring this person, directed by this person, da-da-da-da. So a proper credit sequence where the mystery of what you're seeing, and it begins to be revealed that it's the symbol of Batman. Yeah. It's the Batman signal or Batman
emblem.
Yeah, there we go. And I love that. Like I made notes. I said the overview shot with cast, you don't see that a lot in movies. It leaves you guessing. It's kind of like, what's going to happen? What are we seeing? Is this like a bridge? Is this like a city? What is this?
Yep.
And the music feels gothic. It feels very like Phantom of the Opera. And I feel like that tone or as the kids these days say, the vibe, is very much in keeping with Gotham and with the darkness.
Well, that was the handiwork of Danny Elfman, who they brought in. Tim Burton brought in to do the soundtrack. Well, they collaborate on just about everything. Yeah. But they brought in to do this soundtrack.
Yep.
And much like Tim Burton himself, he was inspired by like the old, more grittier stuff, and kind of wanted to give that like deeper like baritone, the deeper sounds to it that drives that music. Yeah. And make it kind of thrilling too, because it's all tied in kind of Batman. And it's like he nailed it.
Yeah. No, and that's the Batman soundtrack is, and it's cool how throughout the movie the Batman theme, it changes tone. It still sounds the same. Like when him and Vicki Vale are together, the Batman theme is very lilting and soft, but it's still there. It's dun, 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 dun.
Well, like, you do know this movie is one of the rare ones that has dual soundtracks.
Oh, okay.
One is by Prince that has your singing songs.
Oh my god.
And the other one has the Danny Elfman score.
Yeah.
And both of them charted.
Yeah, I have issues with the Prince
little cut-ins. Me too. Like the weird.
I mean, I'm sure
we'll get to the museum
scene. The late '80s was a wondrous time in music composition.
Yeah.
Urge to.
But there's a little factoid for you folks. Both of them charted.
Oh, okay.
Which was crazy.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the time, Prince was riding high and couldn't do anything wrong. I mean, even I admit I liked Prince. So it was kind of like, all right.
It's all right. I mean, it's good. He's good music.
I just didn't think it fit.
No,
Batman.
It was shoehorned. It felt.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. So anyway, we get the music, and then the bat symbol is revealed, and it's like, this is a Batman movie. Here we are, and we open on Gotham, and it's very dark and dirty, and it almost feels like steampunkish.
Well, that's what he did a lot of that inspiration, because he wanted the city to feel very packed in and piled on top of each other with all that kind of weirdness and things, where it's like a character like Batman who hides amongst the rooftops and has things to swing from. Well, he would fit at home in that type of architecture, that kind of structure. Versus, I mean, look at our modern day city. Is someone really going to swing around and hide in any of that kind of stuff?
Right.
Yeah, no. So, he drew on all that.
Yeah. So I think it's interesting. Gotham is definitely, it's almost a cartoony in a ways, which is what Batman began as anyway. So that's kind of there. It's interesting that Batman, the first sight of him, when he's coming out on the top of that building when you're looking over, is actually animated.
Yeah,
it's weird.
Yeah, I mean, remember the old days, it was kind of like cool. You couldn't really tell. Now in like high def, it's kind of like, ooh.
Oh, yeah.
What? Whoa.
Oh dear.
Yeah, that's
10
bad.
points from Gryffindor.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
or 20. I don't know how many points you take off for that.
But I mean, luckily they didn't do a lot of that. It's just kind of like that one scene.
And it's just like, oh, guys. But it's also, again, 89. Like, technology and the way to do things is limited. They were still pushing the meter on a lot of that. I like how and it's interesting, and I'm sure that viewers who watched us originally picked up on this, but the opening scene is of a dad and a mom and a kid.
Yep.
And they're tourists, and they're lost, and they're wandering around, and they end up...
This scene made me so angry.
Okay,
because I mean, I'm like, here, it's like you leaving a theater.
Right.
I get what they're calling back to, what they're going to tie it into, but you're leaving a theater, and you're on a main street.
Yeah.
And you're trying to flag down taxis. You haven't got one yet. So you get upset and decide to walk through the creepy alley where there's no taxis?
Yeah, no.
I'm just kind of like, none of this makes sense.
With your small child. It does feel shoehorned in, and there are parts of this movie where it does feel like certain things just got like blunt force trauma in there.
Yeah.
Because they had to do the symbol. The symbolism had to be there. But here's the thing about this movie is, as great as it is, and it is certainly great, there is a certain point in this movie, and we'll get to it, where it just takes off and it is running like a wild horse, and you are just like, more of this, please. But up until that point, it's got this, I don't want to say it's schizophrenic, but it's just this wacky, weird, like, this has been put here, and then this is there. So this scene, I think, it's very heavy-handed, because if you know and everyone by 80...
Because I mean, even just listen to the dad as he's talking to the wife, who's trying to suggest other things and whatever, and how he's just kind of like, no. Like, deeper and deeper into the crazy dark alleyways we go. Right. It's kind of like, what are you doing?
If that happened, Gotham is in place of New York in the world as what it symbolizes, and so New York is at the time had dark and danky.
Oh yeah, it wasn't
alleyway.
cleaned up yet.
Yeah, it wasn't cleaned up. So like this is the allegory that they're going for, but it feels shoehorned in, because you know when you're going to a Batman movie, you know the mythos. Batman's been around for years.
Yep.
You've read the comics. Like, you know his story, that he lost his mom and dad. Like, so it just felt like you were trying to signal to the audience, see, it's Batman.
Yep.
It's Batman. Oh, but it's not. It's like, guys, take your hand off the wheel a little bit, gently pull back on the gas, and let's just gently go through this versus just boom, boom, here you go, Batman. Buh, buh, buh.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's how I feel about it. So the Batman. So then they're building the mythos, and it's interesting. So this movie is almost an origin story.
No, yeah.
Because they talk later on about, in the last month there's been bat sightings.
The sightings of the Batman. You got the little thug talking about the mythological Batman that's going around kind of beating people up.
Johnny Gobbs, you got Johnny Gobbs, man. Oh, Johnny Gobbs fell off a whatever. And so it is that origin, and that part does feel like, okay, like it's not too heavy-handed.
Yeah.
It just feels like they're mentioning in passing, man, there's this
I just think it's funny in that fight scene. You notice that he beats the snot out of the guy that's unarmed.
Right.
And doesn't really touch the guy that has the gun that just shot him. Right. I'm just kind of like, what is this?
Right. Well, and I like how they don't make Batman like a champion here. Like he does get beat up. He's not perfect.
Yeah.
He does get put on the ground.
A lot of that is like they if you notice in this, like you'd think reading the comic book and stuff, Batman is an action figure that's doing a lot of fighting and beating up people and acrobats and stuff like that. That's how he fights.
Yeah.
And this, he's very clunky and just robotic because that suit that they have him in.
Yeah.
Michael Keaton can't move.
Yeah.
Like they talk about that. It was like a huge limitation. Like he can't turn his head because of the thick cowl that they have him in at all.
Yeah.
So he's kind of frozen.
Yeah.
And that huge like ripped ab kind of plate he's got on front was more solid than that around his sides and stuff. So he can't turn or do anything. Yeah. So it's like, that's why like all these action sequences are really, really weird.
Well, they're weird for
awkward.
us. They're weird for us because at that point it would have seemed normal to 89 movie audiences.
Yeah.
They would have been like, oh my gosh, cool, Batman's in action.
Yeah.
But in this day and age, in 2021, we've had the Christopher Nolan movies. We've had the Ben Affleck movies. We've seen
advances technology. You can do all that.
Yeah, you can do that with stuff, incredible costumes and incredible technology. So we've seen what Batman can do. So I think you have to properly accept what happens in certain moments of this movie where you're just like,
this one you kind of let it go.
You have to accept the fact that 1989 there wasn't a lot of ways to represent superheroes in the way that we see them now because it just wasn't there. What I do love is, and it's the iconic moment where he says, "Tell your friends about me."
Yeah.
Like, who are you, man? And I that voice, and that just I know it like from when I saw the movie originally, and I know it from having heard it. It's like he's like, "Who are you, man?" He's like, "I'm Batman."
Yeah,
and that is. And I will make the argument, and I will stand on this argument, and y'all can yell at me if you want. I don't really care. Michael Keaton is Batman, and he is Bruce Wayne. Now, Christian Bale and everybody, like, there have been, like, but the originator, like Adam West and whoever else, like, whatever.
Yep.
But the originator of the serious Batman, of the legit, like, filmmaking character, Bruce, like, that's Michael Keaton.
No, yeah, it was Michael Keaton.
And the cool thing...
you knew that there was a huge argument about him getting this role, right?
I think I've heard about this a little bit.
Fans threw a huge fit. They started, like over 50,000 letters were sent in protest to Michael Keaton because he was Mr. Mom.
Oh, that's right.
He was a comedic actor.
Yeah, multiplicity and all that other stuff.
Yeah, like he did all like this is for the younger fans, I guess, because the older folks like us would kind of know it.
Yeah.
But it's like, he was just doing comedies, and everybody thought he had comedic chops, and he was Beetlejuice before this.
Oh, yeah.
And that's actually what got him this role, was his work on Beetlejuice, because they were like, well, he can do more dark and gritty. Right. Yeah, Beetlejuice was kind of ha and weird and whatever.
But there was some drama in there.
But he can do some of this, so let's let him stretch. But even then, like, they had a huge list of people that the execs were trying to get in there, like Mel Gibson, Harrison Ford, Kevin Costner, Charlie Sheen, Tom Selleck even. Was thrown out for Batman, and it's kind of like those are the guys that they wanted to kind of they wanted the action hero, the 80s action hero guys to fill that role.
But I think that there would have been a problem because they had seen those guys fight and move, and in that Batman costume you couldn't, and so then they would have that would have caused even further problems when you watched it, being like, wait, I'm used to seeing this guy play this and do this, and now
well, Tim Burton's first hope was he wanted to do an unknown actor at the time, which was Willem Dafoe.
No.
Yeah.
William Dafoe would not be a good Batman because he's his face is not Bruce Wayne. He's not a Bruce Wayne face.
Like some people thought he would be more Jokerish.
Oh yeah, no, he would be
Yeah.
an incredibly terrifying Joker, which we'll
Which
talk about.
He's an incredibly terrifying Green Goblin.
Oh, yeah.
He did. He
did
nailed
you
that.
did you see there was a video making the rounds a couple weeks ago as Spider-Man No Way Home came out,
Yeah.
about the original animatronic mask for the Green Goblin.
No.
Yes. So there was an original. They went and made a full on, like, mechanically, like, moving, functional, and it's terrifying. Like they said that part of the reason why they went with what they had,
Yeah.
is it wasn't as scary for the kids.
Okay.
And it is, like, it's legit. Like, it moves.
See, I need to see this now because that sounds fantastic.
It is terrifying, but it's cool because it is like actual practical technology and practical effects. And I think if it had been used, it would have made his Green Goblin even more horrifying.
Cool.
Because it just is scary. It unsettles you because it is literally moving with the actor moving
Yeah.
and how he talks, and it's just
Well, I mean, that's kind of like if you read Spider-Man, Green Goblin is a terrifying opponent.
Terrifying bad
He's
guy.
supposed to be.
right.
So it's kind of like that would have fit a little better. But
It
I mean,
would.
still, even then, the Green Goblin we got was great.
Yeah. Defoe is the Green Goblin.
Oh, yeah.
He is the unquestionable champion of that role. So we get I'm Batman.
So we get our Michael Keaton
And
comedic
Harvey Dent is introduced as our
Billy D.
Billy D. Williams, which I appreciate because I can hear in his voice. I can hear Lando in him. I can hear it.
Well, he has that rich voice.
Oh
That's
my
kind of
gosh.
like wow.
Yeah. And I like
Do audiobooks, man.
Yeah, he probably does. I'm getting he's like James Earl Jones. You know that voice as soon as you hear it.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, dang. So he's Harvey Dent, which is interesting because the Harvey Dent we get later in the movie series,
Nowhere.
it's disappointing to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get into that at some point down the road. And then Jack Nicholson, that class, Jack Nicholson's voice. He's a lot like.
Yep.
Now in this role. Here's where we come back to that argument we were having in the beginning, or discussion we were having in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
This movie doesn't know what to do for the first 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And Jack Nicholson, he's got that classic voice, and he's dressed differently than everybody else. He has like the purple suit, so it's like automatically they're signaling to you he's different. He's going to be he's the bad guy.
Yeah.
You should know. And it's like
They focus more on him than the main mob boss.
Yeah.
And whatever.
And it's like, okay, all right, guys. What's interesting about Jack Napier as a character is his development is really terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and part of it is that the argument has long been that after this, and when Christopher Nolan's Joker was introduced, the idea was that the Joker doesn't have a backstory. It shouldn't have a backstory. He should just be terrifying and mysterious.
Yeah.
And I respect that. I get that. Apparently, according, and we talked about this a little bit.
Yeah.
Jack Napier actually in the comics, in mythology before.
Yeah, there's a storyline. It's like the Red Hood storyline,
Right.
whatever, where they actually have the origin of that Joker
Yeah.
is inadvertently caused by Batman, which a lot of people did know
Yeah.
at the time, where it's kind of like, well, Batman knocks him into the vat and kind of creates the Joker,
Right.
and then boom,
Yeah. So Jack Napier in this movie, there's he has a Joker card later in the movie where he shows it to the camera, and it's got like a little punch hole through it. I'm just like, and I just sat there going, okay, look, you do not need to hit me over the head with this. I know he's bad. I know he's the bad guy. We're not idiots. Don't treat us like stupid children. And then there's a weird moment where Grissom, the bad Jack Palance,
like this.
I love that man. His presence on screen in anything he's in, it just you go, okay. Restored.
His forceful, but it's just breathy way of like delivering lines and stuff.
He chews up the scenery.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh man.
But this role is not for it. It didn't fit him. I'm
Really?
sorry.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
Well,
he feels so out of place.
Yeah. Well, he's very briefly until obviously, Nicholson kills him.
Yeah.
Jack the Joker kills him in the Joker getup.
Yeah.
So I think Jack Palance was in there to kind of be the stand-in bad guy until the Joker takes over.
Because I just didn't feel like they talked about Grissom. He's so threatening. He's the mob boss. Whatever.
Right.
I didn't feel any of that from him at all.
I would agree with that. There wasn't a lot of menace to him. You're just like, okay, well, whatever. He's the boss.
Yeah.
The thing about Napier is like they reference his cards. Like don't forget your lucky deck of cards.
Yeah.
But it's never referenced what that means. Is he a card player? Is he a card shark? Is he is his business gambling?
Yeah.
Does
he run the gambling rackets?
Yeah.
What does he do?
And it is never really explained. And I get people out there probably going, well, it doesn't really matter. But it's like, here's the thing about movies: when you give us a detail like that, when you show us something,
It's Chekhov's gun, by the way, folks. That's the trope name.
Yeah. You have to give us you have to give us a reason. You got to give us the backstory.
Yeah.
You got to show us, and you can't just be. It's also called like a MacGuffin. Like you can't just show us something and then just it never matters again.
Yeah, it's like you put this emphasis on something, even for a brief moment or something, or have your characters talk about it.
Yeah.
Well, you kind of need to wrap it back and say, okay, why did you include that in there?
Right.
Otherwise, you wasted time.
What was the point?
Yeah, what was the issue with that?
Right. So that was a part for me. I was just sitting there going, and when he like held up the Joker card, I'm just like, you have got to be kidding me. Come on. And so that was so again, this movie, it feels like it's not really sure what to do because
it's very, very clunky.
It is clunky as all get out. So Jack Nicholson, classy voice. So Eckhart, I thought was a Harvey Bullock, and then I realized, nope, that's Eckhart. And he's on the take, and Grissom's the boss of him.
Yeah.
We get the idea. We get the information that Batman's been on the job for a month. Gotham's very steampunky, and then we get Vicki Vale.
Yep.
I like Vicki Vale.
Oh, well, yeah. She was based off another character, but yeah.
Yes. Well, and she's had in the iterations since, she's had presence in most Batman iterations, but also had spin-offs related to her.
Well, she was like Silver St. John or something like that. She was based off that character from the comic books, who's still alive and still around.
Yeah.
Who was like a kind of like Gotham socialite.
Yeah.
And did a lot of work with like setting up parties and stuff for Bruce and things like that and whatever. That's who she's based off of.
Yeah.
But can you imagine instead of Kim Basinger, we got Sean Young? Because that's who was cast first.
I heard about that. What do you think that would have been a good thing or a bad thing?
To have her in there?
Yeah.
I think it would have been a bad thing.
I'm trying to remember Sean Young.
Sean Young was like the 80s kind of like sci-fi heartthrob chick. Like she was in Blade Runner. She was the girl.
I'm Googling her. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So she was the it girl at that time.
Yeah,
and appeared in just about everything.
No, I don't think that would have worked very well.
I don't think so either, which is why I'm glad they went in a different direction. Well, they went in a different direction because they had to.
Well, because she got injured.
Yeah, she had like a horse riding accident.
Yeah.
And then they were floundering around for a while looking for someone to fill the role, and they I forget who I read suggested Kim Basinger, and she nailed it.
She got it. She got the job. I think, and I like Vicki Vale as like a Pulitzer Prize winning photographer. Like it works in the story. I do find it okay. Well, you laugh, but I think
because I have a little detail here that irritates me.
Okay, what's your detail?
Okay, we're gonna skip forward to the movie ahead a little bit, and there's a big party going on at Bruce's Wayne Manor.
Yeah. And she doesn't know who he is.
Yeah, she doesn't know who she is. I was like, what?
And the reporter doesn't know.
The main reporter in Gotham, like the head guy of Gotham newspapers stuff, whatever.
Doesn't
know either. No one knows who this multi-billionaire is.
Right. They're not.
Who runs like half of Gotham City.
I did find that amusing. I was like, okay.
I was like, it was one of those things where I was like, what? Well, like in my adult brain, young kid didn't care. James didn't care.
Yeah.
But adult brain, when I'm watching this movie because I have to talk about it, I'm like, the tires screech. Right. There was like a 20-pile car pile up in my brain.
Cats are screeching.
Yeah, I'm just kind of like
breaking.
Yeah, and I'm just kind of like, what? You're supposed to be reporters.
Well, I would allow Vicki Vale because she's from outside Gotham. She's not a Gotham person. And again, we have to remember in 1989 there was no internet. There was none of those things. There was no when he pulls that Bruce Wayne file, he's pulling it from card. What is it called? Card file.
Yeah,
but
like
the microfiche as well as what they go through.
So the thing is, they talk about this party that he has is like a regular thing.
Yeah.
And so it's got like all the main people in Gotham. So it's one of those things. He doesn't have an excuse not to know.
Yeah, the main reporter should have known. He should have. That is a critical piece missing there. He should have known it was Bruce Wayne.
And yeah, it's kind of like also in the established universe. Like this is one of those things. Like in the established DC universe, whatever, everybody knows who Bruce Wayne is, what he looks like, because he is so important to that world, and he has a Bruce Wayne branch, like Wayne Corp branch, in almost every major city.
But here's the thing: in the 1989 film, we're not given that information.
Yeah.
We don't know. And so I think that maybe the Bruce Wayne of this movie of 1989, maybe he's not that big of a deal yet. Maybe he's just the rich guy on the hill who's mysterious. Because if he was as famous, and I think the danger for us is that we're using every single Bruce Wayne movie.
Oh, yeah.
And everything post 1989.
Yeah.
But I think again, what we talked about at the beginning, you have to separate yourself a little bit from
You
it.
do have to do this, but it's still one of those things like it was part of the character's mythos from the get-go.
Yeah.
Where it's like he is a mega billionaire that is very, very famous. People know who he is.
But how the movie sets up the rules, though, because this is where I come in with the language arts and literature stuff.
Yeah.
Is how the movie sets the rules and the tones are. Is we have very little insight into Bruce Wayne, and I think I feel like that's intentional because I don't think Tim Burton's goal was to give us the origin story on Bruce Wayne, the full breadth picture.
Yeah.
I think this movie is a Batman movie.
Yeah.
And the danger, and a lot of comics and whatever have sometimes had this issue, and movies have had this issue, is they sometimes focus so much on the Bruce Wayne persona that they lose the Batman.
Yeah, you forget Batman.
And so I think trying to find that balance may not have been the easiest thing because, again, you're dealing with Michael Keaton, who's only done comedy.
Yeah.
And you see that element of that kind of aloof Michael Keaton as he goes through his little party, and he's just kind of like
talks about his armor or whatever.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, well, they need to open up 6 caskets, and somebody named this person's looking for this. Oh, hey, give him a grant.
Well, I mean, because he also talked, like, when he's in that little armory room with them, and they're talking, whatever, and he's got all the fancy recording equipment. That was funny to me.
Yeah.
Look at 1980s, like, spy technology, folks.
Yeah.
That made me crack up. But it was kind of like, it's kind of hinting at a lot of those Batman backstories that were already established in the comic books, where he's been over the world, was trained by masters in combat of everything. That's kind of like what they're hinting at in that room by giving you all that. It's like, he's traveled the world. He's been taught. They're pulling on those details where it's like Bruce spent his billions to learn how to fight and do combat.
I think it's interesting because to bring that point a little bit, Alfred, the character who plays Alfred, he plays him all the way through the end of the Joel Schumacher series. He plays Alfred all the way, like him and the mayor, I think, play their characters through the entire series.
Yeah, I think so. On the mayor, I'm not 100% sure, but I think Alfred is.
Yeah, Alfred, and it's an interesting touch because he is a cool character. I like he's a cool character actor. He obviously has had history before this.
He's so droll and dry. It's great.
But it's interesting to watch him that he is actually picking up after Bruce.
Yeah.
As Bruce walks around and puts a plate down or puts a thing down.
He's right there. Boom.
And it almost suggests that Bruce Wayne has been lost for a long time. And until recently, in the last month, when the Batman mantle has become his thing, he's starting to find his direction. And to really go very meta here, perhaps the point of that first 30 minutes of the movie is to create in us, and this is a stretch. This is a Hail Mary to the end zone that may not make it. But perhaps the intention, or misguided intention, or I don't know what, is to create that sense of befuddlement and lostness with that Bruce Wayne is experiencing. Yeah. As we just kind of get through the first 30 minutes, we're like, okay, give me a bad guy. Give me something to fight.
Yeah, what's going on here?
And then, boom, we got Joker, and then.
Well, you got that awkward gunfight thing where it's kind of like you have your lead detective just telling a bunch of other cops, like, shoot to kill.
Right.
And it's kind of like, okay, like other cops are just fine with this. Look at how they just take off.
Right.
But then like you have the first cop that ambushes a guy, yells like, freeze. It's kind of like, no, you're supposed to shoot to kill. The guy's like out in the open.
Right.
Like it's so awkward, that weird little thing.
It's a weird one.
And there's even some bad cuts in there where it's kind of like, you know, like Commissioner sees Batman because he's up on the gantry, but then they do a cut and it's kind of like, freeze. And then you see Batman walking onto the scene. I'm kind of like,
what happened there?
What happened in all this sequence where you kind of lost the step?
Yeah, and like you said, it was Tim Burton's like what, third movie?
Yeah.
So Pee-wee, and then
Beetlejuice,
and
then this one. I think he did another movie in there, but I can't remember.
So you could chalk it up to just being a new director, and when you have just 2 movies under your belt, and one of them was a comedy and one of them was a comedy dramedy. Like, you may not know how to, and maybe this is evidence of the early Tim Burton.
Maybe.
That we didn't really have, he really didn't have all his cylinders on fire.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's get back. We got to
and then you get the creation of the Joker because he's knocked into the vat.
So here's the thing. So again, up until this moment, I got to follow through all my notes here. Jack Palance, Bruce. Yeah, so Bruce Wayne's benefit. Windows around the mansion.
Oh yeah, the thing that made me laugh. Are we still at the party, right?
Yeah, still at the party. So yeah, the wandering around the mansion, like, Bruce is indifferent and aloof, and I like that part of Bruce Wayne because it does give us the idea. Because as he goes through when Joker finally is Joker, and you can see, and this is what I love about Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton's acting is in his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
You see,
look at those brow movements and stuff.
and there is so much being said that as a watcher, as a viewer, you're going, oh man, okay, all right. This is because again that cowl was very restrictive, and he couldn't really do a lot, and so there is that element of he uses his eyes, and Michael Keaton is a master actor. The video surveillance,
and he's still got it. We need more movies with him.
Yeah,
I don't know what happened to him for such a long time, where he just kind of disappeared, and then he appeared in Birdman, which was great.
Yep.
And then as the Vulture, where he was even more fantastic, I'm like, yes.
Yep.
And now they're bringing him back as the Vulture. It's like, great.
Yeah. Give
us more Michael Keaton.
Yep, I agree. He's a good actor. So the video surveillance, I made a note about that it was hilarious.
Yeah,
about how high tech it was.
Funny. Like, folks, especially the younger audience, just go watch that and look at all the stuff that has for high tech surveillance. Where now you can have like a camera that's as small as a needle that can like pick off someone's like pores from like 100 feet away. It's like, wow.
It's fantastic. So Batman's second fight is much better. So the second time where he gets into it and has this fight and whatever, I like that a lot better.
Yeah.
His second kind of introduction. The chase leads us. So the chase leaves a lot to be desired.
Yeah.
This whole chase, and this is what you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
It's like it's just weird. Like it's not cohesive. It's not. And again, maybe the interpretation could be that we're seeing it's trying to make us feel befuddled.
Yeah.
And it's trying to make us be like, where's the point? Because the point is the Joker.
Yeah.
The Joker is the Batman's greatest villain.
Yeah.
In the rogues gallery of Gotham, Joker is paramount. He is the top of the top, the cream of the crop. He is number one with a bullet, with a list, whatever. He's there.
Yeah.
And so maybe you could interpret that. I don't think that's what Tim Burton intended. But
do you want to? Well, I think he probably did in this one. Because, I mean, you always, like, when you think of Batman, you always think of Joker. Like, immediately right afterwards. Mm-hmm. You don't think of anybody else.
Yeah.
And then after that, you maybe think of Robin and some of the other rogue gallery. But first bad guy you think of when you think Batman is Joker.
Yeah.
Like, Tim Burton himself considered it like a duel among freaks.
Yeah.
Because Batman himself, he's our hero.
Yeah.
He's a freak.
Yeah.
He has that split personality kind of thing going on.
The journalist asks Vicki Vale and says, "What would this do to a guy?
Yeah.
What would this do to a kid?" And the answer is, well, it would create Batman. And it's interesting because Vicki Vale, I think, figures it out. That's why she ends up in the Batcave the second time. Ugh. Oh, come on.
Alfred lets her in.
Well,
there's so many issues wrong with that. Like, Batman himself, that personality of Bruce should be like, Alfred, you're fired.
Right. Well, we'll get there. So let's see where we are here. So does he drop Napier into the vat? Because I didn't rewind it, but I sat back for a second and I paused it and I was like, did Batman just drop Napier or does Napier just fall?
I remember I watched it a couple of weeks ago, but I think he just falls.
Okay.
I don't think Batman intentionally drops him.
Okay.
I think he tries to save him.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
I just don't know if there was so that's an interesting kind of conversation to kind of contemplate.
I think it's a detail both of us need to go back and watch.
Probably. But I think I'll err on the side if he didn't, but it did feel weird in that moment that Napier drops. So the hand out of the water.
Yeah, that weird. I'm like, wow, is this Terminator 2?
I was so upset. I was just like, no. And it just sits there and then it's done. The next scene. I'm like, you didn't want to have him crawl out of the water. You didn't want to see a disfigured face. You don't want to do any of that.
They do give you that beautiful shot where it shows how this toxic vat of chemicals just leaks right into the water source for the city. I laughed so much at that. I'm like, wow, this is so 80s.
Yeah.
Where it's like, wow, your toxic chemical sludge just goes right into the water source for the city.
Well, Gotham is a dirty city as it is. The Bruce Wayne is a disconnected guy. So Bruce Wayne, I think it's, again, he does...
we get that in the date scene.
Yeah.
Like they kind of play on that, where I think it was Michael Keaton actually came up with kind of that idea of like sitting across that long table.
And he's like, I've never actually been in this room, I don't think.
Yeah.
And they go and they do their,
and then they have that nice little joking whatever. Then Alfred, I love this scene.
Yeah.
Because I'll put emphasis on this scene where it's like, if you notice, the parts of the house where like it's just Bruce, whatever, are usually kind of cold museum, like whatever.
Yeah.
You enter into Alfred's rooms.
Yeah.
All of a sudden it's warm.
Yeah.
It's light.
Yeah.
There's like warmth and comfort in those rooms. So when they're with Alfred and they're in that little like butler's pantry kitchen area, it's warm, it's light, it's comfortable. That's Alfred.
Yeah.
You know?
True.
That's like real love in there.
Well, and I think you could talk about like the idea of Alfred is the parental replacement for Bruce. And he's trying so hard to have Bruce find love. Yeah. Because there are conversations between Bruce and Alfred about Vicki Vale.
Oh yeah.
And Alfred's like, if not now, when?
Yeah.
And I mean, at this point, we're thinking probably Bruce Wayne is what, 40s, maybe 35.
I don't know. They didn't really mention his age.
So you look at that, and he's a multi-billionaire. Obviously, he's a big biz. He's got a big house. So I think Alfred's
all like considered like an ancient royalty in British.
Right.
We need an heir.
Right. Well, and even like Bruce fires back and says, "Why don't you marry her?"
Yeah.
And Alfred's like, "That's not the plan.
Yeah. That's not what we're about here.
Yeah, not what we're doing here. But you need to open your heart, like any. And it's really like that kind of stuff was really a strong point in this movie, where it's like,
I mean, they threw that in there for Alfred to kind of push on Bruce.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of like, that's why they put that emphasis on there, where Alfred wants him to, don't be this dark and broody dude.
Yeah.
That all he does is worry about crime all day.
Yeah.
No, do more. Live a life.
Yeah.
Stop dwelling in that past thing that hurt you. At least that's kind of how I take it.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you need to grow up.
I like his statement where he talks about the stuff in the house. He says, some of it is very much me, some of it isn't me at all.
Yeah.
Like, it's a really chilling line because at least at this point, Bruce Wayne understands that there's an identity crisis in his head.
There's the two of them in there.
And he doesn't know how to handle that because he's afraid to open up his world, Bruce Wayne's world, to Vicki Vale, because Batman still needs to do his business. So the Joker. So this is where things start to get good. The Joker reveal in the surgical department, and that is pure like horror. It is absolutely, you don't actually see it. You see shadows. It's darkness. The music is haunting.
Yeah.
The surgeon is like, I don't know what this.
I laughed at that because I'm like, you're the surgeon. You know what he looks like.
Well,
how is it like such a big surprise?
Well, I think because he's like, he had covered him up after or whatever.
I mean, I get why they did it.
Yeah.
But I'm saying it's also one of those goofy things. Like, wait, you were the one like hacking and trying to save this man,
right?
And how is like.
But maybe
his severed nerves, which are tightening his face instead of just locking it.
Right.
Sorry, I just manipulated my face there, and that didn't come across.
That was terrifying. Please don't ever do that again. Anyway, but I think it's because like the reveal when Joker becomes mad, the doctor sees the madness in Joker and goes, "Now I'm scared."
Well, I mean, there's a reason why when he goes he looks into the mirror and then he kind of freaks out and his mind breaks. That's when the laughter starts.
Yeah.
There's a drop-off line that they throw away earlier where they talk about how Jack Napier is so all about his appearance and how handsome he is, whatever. Yeah. But it's only one line and they throw it away.
Yeah.
And then you get him like he looks in the mirror, his mind cracks, and then Joker is born at that time. Yeah. So it's kind of like you should have done more where Jack was have him get muddy and then beat up some people or something because someone splashed water on him and whatever. It's like, okay.
Yeah. Those themes could have been stronger in the movie. Yeah. I agree. All right. So so now this is where everything starts to kick off. And this is where we start to, and I will say this, and I think I said this earlier in the podcast. Jack Nicholson's Joker is absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
I had forgotten how scary as hell he is.
Yep.
Like I was uncomfortable watching his scenes.
He nailed that. Like you don't know how he's going to react to anything guy.
You're just like, oh, he is a scary dude. And I will admit to like fast forwarding a little bit, and I usually because he's so unsettling.
Yeah.
So people will argue that Heath Ledger really dominated the Joker role, and in some ways, yes, he presented us with a fresh interpretation of just absolute madness.
Oh yeah.
But Jack Nicholson and his portrayal. I never mind the television show, which also had a pretty crazy Joker, but Jack Nicholson in a feature film nails it and doesn't even hold back.
Yeah.
The idea
Well,
of
he chews up every scene he is in.
He like
Look at how like every
put some A1 on that scene and slice it up,
exactly.
man.
Like he's like right there.
Yeah.
In every scene, you get that.
Yeah.
There's the crazy man
Yeah.
who's doing it for what he considers is a laugh.
Yeah.
Not what others consider.
It's not
funny.
actually funny.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
But he's in on the joke and we're not.
Yep.
And that's the part that makes you go, "Whoa, this guy has some potential to be like really bad." So the movie picks up speed. Joker hid in the darkness and then he reveals. So I like how he kind of hides him when he kills Grissom.
Yeah.
He hides in the darkness.
Yep.
In the moment that he shoots him, then we see him.
Yeah.
And then he's up, and then he's gone, and then it's Joker's here, baby.
Yeah, Joker.
And it was woof. So Nicholson really chews it up. He is, without question, one of the best Jokers of all time. Like, just legit. I mean, never mind Mark Hamill in the animated series. Like, there has been a lot of great Jokers in the Batman mythology.
Yeah.
But Jack Nicholson just nails it.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Whew, terrifying.
And so much of that was just him. Like he had like he brought on like his own like costume person to design that costume for him to wear as the Joker. And look how iconic and wonderful that whole purple, green, orange suit is. Yeah. And it's appeared everywhere. It's in the animated series.
Yep.
That's where they based that Joker's costume from.
Joaquin Phoenix's Joker.
Yeah.
That was the color palette that he had.
Yeah, it's purple, green, and all that kind of stuff. It's like, wow, there you go.
Yep, they did it. Who in the world? Let's see here.
Oh, you have that weird like the Bruce hanging at night scene.
Yeah. So, well, here's the other thing: is like I didn't pause it and look at it, but I wish that they would have identified who the other rogues in the gallery were when the Joker sits down and says, "I'm the boss now. I'm the president."
Yeah.
And I would like to have known who those were and like
because some of those guys, like in that earlier scene where like Grissom hands Napier off and tells him to go do stuff.
Yeah.
Those guys aren't really there, and all of a sudden, like these are the other big mob bosses of the city or in Grissom's organization, and you don't get any emphasis. You don't have anything behind them, but they're supposed to be intimidating and whatever.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah. So so again, he's terrifying. He uses an electroshock to burn the dude to death. Like, holy crap. But then like again, he's like, "Oh, should we give him a chance? Oh, you don't think we should? We think we should." And it's just like that legit like the Joker is in a world of his own, and it is not a gentle world. Yeah. It is a harsh and scary world.
Burton's idea behind that was kind of like it's like take the outcast, and throw him outside of outsidey, and then take all that dark freedom, like the freedom that comes from being the outcast, and make the person just relish in all the darker aspects of that, and then bam, there's Joker. So it's like you're just taking the brakes off and saying, just how far will this guy go?
Yeah, I have multiple notes throughout my notes. Joker is terrifying. This Joker is terrifying. Yeah. I don't have words to describe how terrifying he is because it's just...
Well, I mean, he even shoots his best friend.
Yeah, at the end of the movie. You're my number one. Kaboom, you're dead.
Yeah, you're dead. And okay, you're now number one.
Yeah.
Welcome
to the party, pal.
Yeah.
The scene... So Bruce drives himself. This scene where he drops the flowers off at the scene. Yeah. It tells us so much without really telling us. It's a show. It's and he drives himself. Alfred doesn't drive him, which is an interesting note. I said Bruce drives himself. That's an unusual.
Yeah, it's a really weird one.
Yeah, because
then in the other movies and stuff. Even later in the movie, you see Alfred chauffeuring the car around.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, you kind of messed up your own things there.
Well, I think maybe there's a point there. As I'm thinking here, maybe it's because Bruce's pain is so personal.
He even keeps Alfred out of it.
He doesn't want Alfred to see him in that pain. Even though Alfred is well aware of the pain.
I mean, yeah, come on. It's like Alfred supports his double personality lifestyle.
But maybe because Bruce is so closed off, because again, he closes himself off to Vicki Vale, he closes himself off to everyone, maybe that isolation in that scene is even Alfred can't get that close. Yeah. Even Alfred, with his years of service to the family and his raising basically Bruce Wayne, can't get that close. Yeah. And I think that speaks to the isolation of the Bruce Wayne character, because in this movie he is isolated for a good portion of it.
Oh yeah.
And it is stark and it is revealing, and I think it's an important element in the Bruce Wayne character as it develops, because eventually he becomes a partier, he throws parties like in the
I would have
liked
if they would have done more of those kind of like isolated Bruce moments.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't get them, but it's like show that he's kind of like, even when he's surrounded by other people, he's alone.
I think at the party scene we get a little of that, but not enough.
Yeah, we don't get enough.
Yeah.
Like, you don't really sense it
I
because
agree.
he only kind of like skips off that table. Alfred chases after him, then he's into that armor room kind of scene, whatever. And it's kind of like, no, give us more of that. Give us more of Bruce being the loner even among crowds.
Yeah. So Keaton's face is, again, he tells us so much with his.
Oh,
with
in
his-
the city hall, like in front of city hall
well,
scene, whatever.
So that's coming next. So
Yeah.
Keaton's face when he's laying the flowers down and everything
Yeah.
like that. But yeah, the attack scene. Oh boy, it's unsettling.
Yeah.
Like
well, I mean,
it-
like the Joker commits murder in front of like
Yeah.
half like
Right.
the major members of the city
Yeah.
and a whole ton of police.
Yep. But
and
then
is able to just kind of like drive away.
Yeah, because he has everyone like the attack. Again, it makes sense, right? It happens, and you're just like, wow. But I love, and you were saying how Bruce Wayne, that moment where he realizes who the Joker is, and he doesn't duck down. He's the
just
only one
standing
standing
there.
up, and he walks to the car as the Joker's getting away. And I feel like that's the moment where
Well, and they stare at each other.
yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the moment where he's like, this is my purpose. This is why I'm Batman, because I need to stop this.
I'm still just kind of irritated. It's just like you have all that, like you have all these policemen,
Yeah.
and none of them do anything.
Yeah. That's always been a complaint, actually, with Batman and the Gotham Police Department, is how ineffective the police are always kind of portrayed to be.
Yeah.
Like they're really.
Like, what are they doing?
They can't handle the crime. But I think it also speaks to the massive amount of crime there is in Gotham.
Yeah.
That it's just insurmountable. Like the police are doing their very best, but it is just impossible.
But they don't even show that though. Really,
Right.
it's kind of like what?
Yeah.
It's like why even have police? Yeah. At this point, why are we funding? Because also, it's like every major speech
Yeah.
by every politician that
Right.
ever takes place in Gotham,
Is
even in the
interrupt-
comics,
right, is
is talking
interrupt-
about crime and blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And it's kind of like, well, how come nothing's happening then? Nothing's changed.
I there's probably a deeper mythology there, I'm sure, if we dug for it. Okay, let's see here. Wayne and Alfred Vale.
Yeah.
This is the conversation, like, if not when, thou. It's pitch perfect. I loved it. I really enjoy it. Again, Joker again is terrifying. Freaky Joker. The smile gas is uncomfortable, and I don't like it. I just don't. I don't like it as a plot device. It makes me uncomfortable. I just don't
Or
like
like
it.
his weird mix of chemicals that make people like laugh and then
Yeah.
fall over dead. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
I just don't like it. It's not my jam.
What? Any reason behind?
I just don't like it.
Because I mean, I like, to me, it's kind of like, all right, you're calling on the old kind of
Right.
like goofy Joker a little bit,
Yeah.
where he had like his laughs where he thought it was funny.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna laugh yourself to death.
I
And
just-
it's kind of like cool. I'm like, I thought there was a nice little like include.
Yeah.
Because Joker does do that kind of stuff
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's funny to him.
Yeah. I think it's because it's so uncomfortable and unsettling because he's so evil.
Yeah, because it makes him laugh.
Yeah, but it gets under your skin and you're just like, I don't like you.
Yeah. So to me, I was kind of like, cool. It's a nice little thing that you're doing here, Joker, with your evil plot to kind of mess with the city.
Which now leads us to the museum scene, which is a product of the 80s, and I hate it. I hate the music. I hate the, oh, Jenna.
All the Prince music from the get-go.
I love Prince. I respect the man, rest in peace, Prince, but good God almighty.
Well, I mean, he gasses and kills everybody in that restaurant.
But he like
But the thing is, like, I always like the part of this scene, like right at the start, before the Joker really walks in.
Yeah.
I was going like, she gets a random box
Yeah.
with a little note that's like drawn in crayon, which
Right.
I was like, great, like
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah.
But then it's like put on the mask. Like, what if she ignored that by one more second?
Right.
She would have been dead too.
She would have been dead.
And then his whole point for setting this whole thing up would have been
Right.
failed. What would have been Joker's response to that?
Right. He would have to find a new girl.
Yeah, it's like he.
I think he would have just been like, all right, find a new girl.
in time to find the new obsession, right?
Yeah. Because he originally had the obsession, the girl that he knew before he turned.
Yeah.
Who was Jack.
Well, remember,
Grissom's-
they reveal her in this scene where it's horrific, what
Oh,
he
yeah,
considers
yeah.
artwork to him
Yeah.
now.
Oof.
Woo.
That's intense.
Yeah.
So the dinner with Joker, hate it.
Yep.
I just hate it.
Yep.
It's uncomfortable, and I get it. You build the character to hate him. You want him to die, and at this point, you are. They have swung that lever so far. You are like, burn him, flamethrower right now. Get rid of the Joker.
Yeah, this Joker is like, he's got his weirdness where he's
Yeah.
funny and let's throw paint on stuff and whatever, but
Yeah.
then he's deadly.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going to kill you with him.
So you want him off the screen. You want him on the screen, but then you want him off the screen. You're like,
Yeah.
okay, you're scary. Please stop scaring the hell
Yeah,
out
but
of me.
the thing is like, he's doing all this.
Yeah.
But then she tries to comfort him when she thinks she hurt him.
Yeah.
I'm like, no. This man's like just revealed to you he is the absolute psychopath. Just killed like 50 people around you just so he could have a talk with you.
Right.
It's like, let me comfort you. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No.
No.
I love.
Oh, he tried to burn her with acid too, right before this scene.
Oh, I forgot about that.
I'm just like, wait a second.
Yeah.
What is going on here?
Yeah.
None of this tracks.
Yeah. It's a little
Like,
clunky.
anybody would have been like, okay, he's hurt, whatever. I'm taking off running. I'm trying to get out of here.
Right.
Something instead of going like, oh, what's wrong? Oh, let me like, no.
Maybe she's a purist at heart. Maybe she sees the good in him.
And then I love like when Batman appears, like he appears right above them.
Yeah.
All that glass should have just like landed on top of Vicki and choke her. I mean,
but it doesn't.
and then like you notice there's a little cutscene, which I thought little not cutscene, but it's like right in there.
Okay.
Like in all the moment when all this stuff is happening, she has the wherewithal to grab her bag with all the photos and stuff in it and throw it over her shoulder.
Okay.
It's like, wait, this is supposed to be happening like super, super fast, but she remembers to grab that.
Yeah, well, because it's the plot device, because later he takes it off of her.
And I'm just kind of like, what woman, like, okay, guy just tried to burn you with acid.
Vicki Vale is
You
the
tried
answer
to
that
comfort
question.
him. Batman comes busting out of this light and like,
Vicki Vale
grabs you.
It's Vicki Vale. She's that good.
I know.
She's like the lady in Jurassic Park who ran in the heels. She's just that good. And I'm not saying that sarcastically. I'm saying that she is that good.
And then like one of the line there was like that a lot of people like too is like when Joker's like, where does he get these wonderful toys?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, wait, that's like the real first toy of his you've seen.
Right. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever.
Anyway, so then we get the Batmobile, which I love this Batmobile.
Well, this Batmobile is awesome.
Yes.
But the issue I have with this chase scene is kind of like, why get out of the Batmobile at all?
Because they were trapped in traffic. They couldn't go anywhere.
Well, I mean, like the car, like here's the part of that. Like, watch that scene, that chase scene again.
Yeah.
He wrecks all the Joker mobiles back at the last.
But I think what
thing.
he's worried about is the police are coming, and he doesn't. The police.
He knows he can outrun the police. He does.
But he's stuck. See, he gets stuck in the traffic jam with the Batmobile.
But then when they immediately after that fight and they go back, all that's cleared out.
Well,
I'm just saying it's one of those things like watch the cuts and everything.
The cars moved.
All he had to do was wait like 2 seconds, and he could have outrun all this stuff. There's
Okay.
no need for this fight scene that takes place.
Okay. Well,
They're 100% safe in that car.
the plot needed it apparently.
Yeah,
okay?
well, it did.
So the Batmobile, the alleyway fight scene.
Because then you get the Indiana Jones.
Yes,
moment.
and I wrote that in here. I said Indiana Jones type fight, and I was just like, look, I get that it was a running gag in the movie, and other movies try to. I was like, don't try and remind me of another movie. Just do your own thing, movie. Do your own dang thing, please.
And then like like
the shields.
because in that moment, it's so irritating to me. It's kind of like, all right. When he like she lies about her weight, which is kind of like a funny little joke
109,
moment, whatever. And like when he drops
right
to like let her take the thing off, it's like how strong is she to hang on to that suddenly?
She's Vicki Vale, James. You don't know.
Oh god, like, because literally she could have like fallen off.
She is a Pulitzer Prize winning. Like she traveled in a war-torn.
And she's got a grip like a gorilla to hang on to that.
She has
Come on.
traveled in war-torn countries.
And then the way Batman lands, he just breaks both his legs.
his uniform protects him.
From falls like that.
Plot armor.
And then the other hole that's in there is like, okay, Joker's obsessed with this girl. Don't touch her because it's
Yeah.
Joker's thing. But they're gonna shoot at her.
Yeah, I don't.
What? This whole scene is like, to me, is just like question marks all the way down. Like, why are you doing this?
Probably because they needed to have an extra back action scene in there somewhere.
True.
And create the tension or something. I agree that it could have been lost. It could not. It could have just been left alone.
Yeah. You could have just cut to the scene where he's driving through the woods because he outran everybody, and then he
I agree.
mind wipes her with the light or distracts her with the light to drive into the.
Well, no. So so let's talk about this. First of all, the shields are CGI, and it bothers me.
Yeah.
Shields. It's like it's clearly not real. Like you didn't practical.
Well,
but
again, that's the old effects, like the animated bit.
But interestingly enough, the second time we see the shields at the end, it looks better.
Yeah.
And it's weird. So I'm like, so did you improve the technology, or did you actually do something?
Yeah, was there a practical effect you did, but you couldn't repeat it a second time?
Yeah, it just felt strange, and maybe I'm missing something there. So the ride up to the Batcave, And I made a note. I said, those Keaton eyes, his eyes tell the story. When she's like trying to get a look at him and she's trying to lean in. And the reason why he turns that light on is to kind of just push her away so she can't see into his eyes.
I thought it was kind of just a funny little thing. It's like you could turn on your cabin light to blind her.
Intention to keep her away because she was trying to see and who he was because the mask had almost gotten pulled off in the fight. And
it's also one of those moments where you see the limits of his cowl because he tries to look over at her and he's kind of at the weird like body turn.
So they ride up to the Batcave. I love that scene. I think they sped up the footage to make it seem like they were going faster than they were.
Yeah.
Because it happened in the Ghostbusters movie and it happened here. And I'm just like, so yeah, I transfer it to hit intent Vicki Vale in the Batcave.
Yeah, this is her first time in the Batcave. Whatever. And this is kind of like one of those moments where it's kind of like this doesn't really match up. Where it's kind of like, all right, you're going after her to give her this info that you have.
Right.
Why didn't you take it with you in the first place?
Right.
And then there's the other thing. It's like the way he offers her those files. Yeah. Look at how he just kind of like throws at her like it's garbage.
Well, no, here's the thing. Here's what I think. So in this moment, he's Batman, right? As Batman, he doesn't want to feel familiar with her.
Yeah.
He doesn't want that connection to be there. He is afraid that if he
Stop make me feel warm and comfortable.
Right. Well, I'm sure he's afraid that if he shows that gentler Bruce Wayne side, that she'll figure out who he is. The other thing is, this is the conversation we had earlier about the dual personalities. Yeah. I don't think Batman at this point in the story is able to switch to Bruce Wayne without taking off the costume.
Yeah, I think he would fall apart. Like so if Batman gave up and came all warm and fuzzy with her, all of a sudden he would fall apart.
Well,
Batman would die.
He couldn't do it with the the reason why he tosses it at her is he doesn't want to be connected.
He's creating distance.
Yeah, and I think that's genius because
that's fair.
Yeah,
but I'm saying like in the first place, you're going after her anyway. You didn't know she was under danger until you kind of like get there. I'm guessing because they don't really show you that.
Right.
He just shows up as Batman, but it's kind of like you knew you were going out there to give her this info.
Right.
I mean, you do get the weird phone calls where he talks about the date or whatever, the museum, whatever. But it's kind of one of those things like you should have had those files with you and be like, here's your files.
Yeah.
Instead, you drive her all the way back to the Batcave, have this weird thing where she's in there.
He's worried about her safety, perhaps. I don't know.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's just one of those decisions where it's kind of like it just doesn't really make sense. You could have done it better.
Right, a little too inconsistent.
It's clunky.
Yeah, clunk is fun. It's a great part of this. The showdown with the Joker at the apartment. I like how Bruce Wayne becomes crazy.
Yeah.
He loses it. He's like, you want us to be crazy? Let's do crazy.
Yeah.
And he pushes. And I think that it may be at that point that she starts to figure out who this man is. That this is not the Bruce Wayne that there is a deeper side to him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you notice that the one thing that our reporters never got, but the Joker knows right off the bat.
Yeah.
He knows who Bruce Wayne is.
Yeah, he does.
And that one cracked me up. It's like, okay, the Joker knows who he is, but our Pulitzer Prize winning reporters and such don't know any clue of who this guy is.
Let's see. So the reveal at last.
Yeah.
He shoots Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne obviously saved himself from that.
Yeah, with that tray.
The Joker killing his parents, I understand why.
Yeah.
But it feels... Again, I think to do this properly, you have to isolate it to 1989 and accept that this was just a part of a mythos that was in the real history of this thing. I think it works because at the end when we get to the end scenes where he says, "Well, you created me." Well, no, you created me first. Yeah. Like that does pay off.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and the one thing is like everybody likes to drop that line where it's like, "Ever dance with the devil in the pair moonlight," kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I say it to all my victims. It's like, no, you don't.
Right.
It only comes out this like in the flashback, and it comes out now. Yeah. We never see it anywhere else.
Yeah. That is inconsistent.
And if the Joker's going to be saying this to him now when he shoots him, he should be saying it a lot more to other people. And it's kind of like inconsistency. I was like, you could have cut that out, and we'd have been fine.
Yep. The flashback scene where we see Bruce's parents murdered is masterful. I love how it's told. I mean, and again, it's been done so many times since, but I love how that's handled. I adore the Vicki Vale Wayne match, and again, this is probably blasphemy and heresy in the Batman world, but I think that they could have been something. Now, yes, Batman never gets married, Bruce Wayne never gets married, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like she could have been something more.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if
I think she makes a good match for, say, Bruce himself.
Yeah.
And she can apply, like, kind of reach into and get his, like, in the movie mythos kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of like she makes a good match for Bruce and kind of like gets inside of him, makes him feel warm and fuzzy, whatever.
Yeah.
She just doesn't match with Batman.
Yeah.
Like, I think we get to see who would make the better match for Batman in Returns, which we'll talk about that next time.
Yeah.
And that's matches with Batman, doesn't match with Bruce.
Correct.
You know, so it's just kind of like...
It's that dual identity kind of
the
issue.
dual kind of... like the dual personalities inside our main character's head have different likes and dislikes.
Yeah.
And so I agree with that.
Yeah.
Vicki and Bruce, good.
Yeah.
Vicki and Batman, no.
Well, and I think it would have been an interesting exploration to have Bruce and Vicki in future movies. Like,
I wish they would have brought that in.
Wrestle with that tension.
Yeah.
And they could have just been like, well, we'll just have to agree to disagree. Like, you get Bruce, but you don't get Batman. Yeah. And figuring out how to navigate that relationship may have actually allowed for a deeper dive into the personality and the story and whatever else.
That would have been really interesting in continuance if maybe if Tim Burton would have thought further down the line. Yeah. But he didn't. No. He didn't even want to do a second movie. Right. Like, he did this one movie, and he was kind of like, I'm done. Mm-hmm. But then he did, like, a trade-off kind of thing, where it's like, I want to do this other project. Mm-hmm. I know you guys want Batman. Oh, fine, I'll do your other Batman movie, but I'm going to do my other project, too. Right. So it's kind of one of those things. It's like, what
was the other project?
I forget what it's another movie that he did. I forget. I don't have it in my notes.
It's okay.
So it's not in front of me. But, yeah, it was one of those things where it's kind of like, they wanted the movie. Yeah. We want a second one. Yeah. Give us another one. Yeah. And he's like, I don't want to do it. Yeah. But then he started hearing this other storyline kind of thing, and he's like, oh, I want to do my own personal project. And they're like, okay, we got a deal here.
You do this, you can do that.
Yeah.
Well, and Tim Burton could write his own check after Batman at this point. Yeah.
Well, just kind of what happened.
Yeah. So then it's interesting. So we get the Batman going to it's not the Acme plant. It's like the Axis plant. Yeah. It's called the Axis plant. He kills a bunch of henchmen. Yeah. There is
like we're skipping some stuff here where we can, but we're like, this is for time kind of stuff, folks. But we're going to the Batman where he just murders a lot of people. Like a lot of people like to say
Batman doesn't kill.
Batman doesn't kill, and then they got angry at Batfleck, right, for killing a bunch of people and using machine guns. I'm like, no. Come back to our first movie. Yeah, machine guns and explosives. Yeah, he kills a lot of people and blows up a giant toxic plant.
Yeah, yeah. And Joker, of course, obviously is not there. What did I skip? So we had the epic costume change. We had the Vicki Vale Wayne match.
Yeah, we had the Vicki Vale Wayne match. We had the mayor and that weird like TV thing where the mayor, like, okay, they're in the studio, whatever, and the Joker's doing his bit. But then on the second screen, you have like the mayor and them like looking at the Joker's screen.
Right, and then he pushes it. Yeah, that
you can't see him. Why are you doing this?
Yeah, that was dumb.
It was really, really dumb. Yeah. You have that thing where it's like she opens up that box to scream and whatever.
And faints.
When it's kind of like, no, you should be looking for Bruce.
Right.
Like, she shows no care. Like, for some reason, she shows no caring about the guy who just got capped in her apartment. Right. No, I'm going to open up the weird box.
I think to this, and this is a point to the ladies who are listening. Kim Basinger's character she's mostly strong in this movie. Yeah. But there's inconsistencies that are just like, okay, look, you made her out to be a girl now. Like, yeah. Okay, not to say that a girl's wrong, but you know what I'm saying? Like, the strength of her is she was a strong, independent woman, which is awesome.
Who was traveling the world, taking war zone photos.
And winning a Pulitzer Prize and doing all these great things. And then she was assigned to the Bat story, and she's investigating, and she's tenacious and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden, some dead flowers pop out, and she faints. Yeah. Like, really? Yeah. Like, what? No. She just would be like, oh, that's disgusting. Let me throw that away in anger.
Yeah, and where's my boyfriend who just got shot in the chest?
Where's Bruce? Yeah. Why isn't Bruce here? So
anyway, we're glossing over that kind of stuff to go to like Batman blows up a bunch of people in the charge to the end. Well, the Joker's parade, which, okay, like, I have issues with this. I mean, I get it. Yeah. But I also have issues with it because, like, this guy has been proven to be terrorizing your city.
And people show up to take money from him.
People show up to grab his money at a parade.
Right, and they don't think that he's going to, like, smoke them out with more gas.
Yeah, or do something to them.
Right. Like,
where it's like, wait, he was killing our news anchors on TV and obviously like stepping up to say, yeah, it was me, folks.
Right.
I'm killing these people. Ha
Right.
ha ha.
Right.
Show up. I have $2 million I'm going to drop from the sky. What?
It could be a commentary on the public and how easily they are like
Manipulated
by whatever. I just
There's so much wrong with this parade scene,
Yeah.
whatever. I mean, if they would have done more of like the Joker's in the shadows doing a bunch of weird stuff and no
Yeah.
one can really pin it to him,
yeah.
got you.
Right.
When he decides to pop on TV and says, I have $2 million, I'm going to drop it.
Yeah.
Yay. Like, and then the only people that really know what things are wrong, maybe Commissioner Gordon, Batman, they know that,
Yeah.
oh no, this is going to be dangerous.
Yeah.
Great.
Right.
But if you're hopping on TV to be like, hi, I'm the bad guy, I'm poisoning you folks,
Right.
you know,
Right.
use the Joker makeup.
Right.
What?
Yeah, the parade scene is a bit. From an imagery standpoint, it's good. Like it really looks cool. Like it's really fun. Like whatever. But within the story,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, were you trying to pad time here? It does allow
And
us.
he's got his Happy Prince theme where he can dance and people are dancing with them and everything's great, Aaron.
The late '80s has got an '80s. I don't like it. It makes me cranky.
Like, how is a known terrorist just getting all these people to flock to his parade?
Because apparently Gotham is full of idiots.
Yeah. And then where did Joker just randomly get these supplies for a parade?
Party City.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
They'll sell to anybody,
Yeah.
including terrorists. We don't care as long as it makes us a profit.
Yeah.
Nothing against Party City, which actually I think is still a company that exists. But the reason why we have the parade, I think, is because we get to see the Batwing,
Yeah.
which I love the Batwing.
Oh, I thought it was cool.
I love the look of it. I love how it looks like a Batman signal because it can have the wings.
Yeah. Well, they give you that moment against the moon.
Yeah,
It's kinda
that
like,
was.
oh.
Yeah, that's when I did that too. I was just
No.
like, come on.
Well, then also, like, Bruce can't shoot for beans.
He's like a stormtrooper.
Yeah.
And the Joker seems to know it. Or you could also suggest the Joker just doesn't care and thinks
Yeah.
it all is a joke and doesn't know that he's going to
Well,
die.
I think ultimately this Joker that we get, like, he doesn't care.
Yeah.
The way he stands out there in that street
Yeah.
is a challenge to Batman.
Yeah.
Kind of like, do your best.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever comes from this,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, Bruce opens up on him with
Yeah.
those machine guns.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't hit
Yeah.
squat.
And sends the missiles and it doesn't really do anything.
Yeah, it was kind of like all of this show with the Batwing
nothing.
was wasted.
Well, and maybe the theory could be is that because it's in Batman's still his early days.
Yeah.
It's still like this is his first month or month and a half on the job.
Yeah.
And
or,
so maybe
or whatever. We don't really get the timeline, but
Yeah,
yeah,
we don't.
He's still new to the streets.
maybe
But-
that's part of it because he's got all these wonderful toys, but
Yeah.
he's not good at them yet. That could be the part that I think would allow this to paper over that a little bit. Not
See,
completely.
I think the one thing they should have done is like, all right, he's out there, he's challenging me, whatever. Batman uses the Batwing to get rid of the balloons,
Yeah.
and then just gets rid of the Batwing and goes down to do street level stuff, which
Right.
Batman usually does.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, if you're gonna stand out, I'm gonna come down there and I'm gonna punch you in the face.
Right. But I think what's awesome is that Batman doesn't expect the Joker to have that long gun,
Yeah.
which then shoots and shoots him down.
Which is a great gag.
Yeah.
Because it's like we see Joker jumping around and it was like if that gun barrel was in his pant legs all the time, he wouldn't walk. He
Right.
couldn't walk. You're not gonna move.
There's a bit of a suspension of disbelief that they ask us to give in.
Yeah,
there.
there's a huge in that scene.
Yeah.
There's a huge, especially that weird gun and the way he holds it kind of
Right.
out away
Yeah,
from
yeah,
himself.
yeah,
He doesn't
yeah.
really aim down it. He kind of holds it out like
Yeah.
away from himself.
Yeah.
If he would have fired that gun like that, it probably would have taken his hand
Yeah,
off.
the blowback would have been unpleasant.
Yeah.
So he shoots
And
him
that
down.
one bullet takes out the Batwing.
So here, but I think it speaks to Batman again being in the beginning of his career. Like he can have all these wonderful toys, but he may not be prepared for Joker's crazy ideas and crazy ways of doing things.
Yeah.
So I like how that just when Batman crashes, like she goes looking for him and can't find him.
Yeah.
Like he's not in the seat, and then Joker grabs her and says, "We're going to the top. We're going and."
Well, I mean, the other thing is like you notice like all the scenes in the gas.
Yeah.
Where it's like they're driving around in just a regular car.
Yeah.
And they're deep in the gas cloud, but
Yeah.
they're not dying.
Nothing's happening.
Like no one died to that gas.
Yeah.
There's no scenes of someone like choking and falling over and dying.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, like, is this Joker's joke?
Right.
Where he's blowing out maybe just colored gas?
right to attract
And
Batman.
that's the thing that he's playing here?
Maybe.
I mean, that's like a deeper look at this where I'm
Yeah.
like, a lot of people are just like, well, everybody thinks it's the poisonous gas.
But it's just a way to get Batman's
Maybe-
attention.
Yeah, maybe it's just him playing a joke.
Because he was mad because Batman was his enemy, and he's like, "I'm going to get this guy."
Yeah.
And maybe it was all a quote unquote a joke to get Batman's attention.
Yeah.
What's interesting is he gets mad because Batman destroys his balloons.
Yeah,
he's like,
my
he took my
balloons.
my balloon, and it's like he's genuinely
angry.
Yeah, indignant about the whole thing.
Because shortly this is when he caps his number one guy.
Yeah. He's like, how did we not? Who didn't know? How didn't we know about his toys?
Yeah.
And he turns to the guy who was responsible for knowing about those toys and shoots him.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, I'm gonna need a minute, boys. And they're just like, okay.
Yeah.
They know his craziness, so they've just been like, all right, well, we're getting paid, so we'll just keep moving on. And so I think Batman crashes, obviously.
Yeah, and there's like, where's the bat ejector seat?
He didn't program it yet.
Yeah, I guess.
It's coming next time in the next movie.
He's gonna learn.
He does. And there's a lot of learning here. So obviously, Vicki Vale goes to find Batman. He's not in the seat. Joker picks her up, says, bring me a chopper in 5, make it 10, and they go climbing up the stairs.
Yeah, this is one of those things that doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
either.
I don't get it.
Like, look, think about this, folks. Right? He drags her all the way up the top of this,
all the way up the stairs
to get his helicopter.
Yeah,
and somehow he has goons up there already.
Yeah,
and all this kind of, it's like it doesn't really.
Yeah, it doesn't track.
None of this is.
There are some significant plot holes.
Yeah,
because Batman has to fight a bunch of dudes up there.
Yeah,
and then finally, but yeah.
And this super awkward stair climb. There's actually like a commentary thing on it where Jack Nicholson himself approached Burton and said, "Why am I doing this?"
Right.
And like, this doesn't make any sense. Why would I take her up there?
Right.
And Burton just kind of like told him to go with it.
Right.
So that's how we got this.
Probably because it was written in the script and they needed a final battle and whatever because it needed to happen.
Yeah.
So and then so Batman goes up, and at this point Batman's injured. He crashes into the pews, knocks them all over. Like, this is Batman not at his best. And I like that element of this movie is that we see Batman fail.
Yeah.
He's not perfect. He's not as good as he should be.
And he's kind of clunky. He gets beat up a little bit. Yeah.
He's not the best. He's not the all-star. He will be someday. And so he's climbing up the stairs. The bell gets sent down the shaft.
Yeah.
Blocks the police. I love Gordon when he tries to push the bell.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, dude.
Yeah.
Dude. And he's like, all right, boys, let's go. Like,
well, you notice how
we're done.
Yeah. All the scenes we've had were issues where cops doing anything.
Right.
Look how fast they set up searchlights.
Yeah.
Like this, the cops are completely inept at everything else.
Well, we can do searchlights.
But you know what? We need some searchlights.
Yeah, Gotham PD's they're really good at looking at stuff and lighting it up to watch it happen, but actually stopping it. And
just one of the common things that almost every police department has is a helicopter or a couple helicopters, especially in big cities.
Yeah.
Where's the PD's helicopters?
They've been stolen by all the criminals.
It's like there's so much that you have to kind of throw out the window here to let this ending sequence happen. It's just kind of like it makes it super awkward. But you do get good stuff out of it.
Yep. So let's see what else here. So March to the Roof. Batman, he's like the use of the lighting and how it's done here.
Yeah. I didn't like Vicki Doll. Like where the Joker's dancing with her and she's kind of like, blah.
Well, I think she's just kind of given up.
Yeah.
Like, it's just that, like, there's no... She doesn't think Batman's alive at this point. She's heard, like, rumblings downstairs, but she doesn't know. So she's just like, it's over. Like, this is the end of the game.
Well, even then, it's like when Batman's fighting the dudes and the Joker's kind of walking around, she just kind of like limp. Yeah. I'm just like, come on.
Well, because I don't think she sees him.
Yeah.
She sees him finally towards the end.
Yeah.
And is like, oh, here we go. The bell scene is a masterful shot where it's falling down. Yeah, that's a really cool. I think they've done it with a miniature. I think they actually did.
I'm not really sure.
It looked like a miniature. Like, again, looking at 1989 through the lens of 2021. I loved the first scene of the searchlights. They're animated.
Yeah,
and then the second scene with the searchlights, they actually look like they're real.
Yeah.
So I don't know what happened there.
Yeah,
it's similar to the other one where it's like,
this is a weird moment here.
Yeah.
And like our super ninja henchmen that had just been hanging out, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good little fight scenes, whatever. Yeah. But then also you get more of Batman just kind of blatantly killing some people.
Yeah.
I'm like
sending the guy down the bell tower.
Yeah.
It's like, oh boy. So Batman, I think when he finally faces off with Joker,
and then you finally get some like Joker actually cracking jokes.
Yeah. Yep. And they fight, and Batman's like, "You killed my parents," and Joker's like, "Well, I kill a lot of people." Like.
Yeah,
whatever. And
that was Tuesday.
Yeah, that was Tuesday. I don't know what you want from me. So it's that battle scene, and then the end. Yeah, the end feels weird.
Yeah.
Partially because I'm used to Joker not dying. Like, they never. Like,
he should have gotten away.
Right, or he gets put in Arkham.
Yeah.
But there's no mention of Arkham in this movie.
No, they don't.
So I don't know if that's intentional or if I don't have enough memory of Batman 2 or Batman Returns to know. But the Joker's death. is, I think genuinely it's a Bruce Wayne decision.
Well, I think it's also more like it's a movie decision.
Yeah.
Because even you think on our Spider-Man movies that we had
Yeah.
recently with everything else, it's like the bad guys die at the end.
Yep.
Because you have to make, if this is the only movie we get to make,
Yeah.
we need to wrap it up.
Yep.
We can't just have the bad guy kind of escape on us,
Yeah.
because that leaves it way too open.
Yeah.
And audiences really won't like that,
Yeah.
especially if they don't get a sequel.
That's true.
So it's kind of like, all right, this wraps it up.
Yep.
This Batman kills the Joker.
Yeah. I don't like the way that they, like, he obviously when he falls, it's CGI or it's green.
Again, they
it's
did the
green
same
screen.
thing.
Right. It's not great. But the end scene with him actually in the ground.
Yeah.
That's
nice
beautiful.
crater. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
And then the laughing little
Yeah.
thing in his coat that's
Right.
going off.
And they gingerly approach him, and then they open it up, and it's just like a playing thing.
Yeah.
I love how they don't say anything.
Mm-hmm.
There's not like this explains. It's just like until to the end, it was a joke.
Yeah, and even his smile on his face
is
is
still
just kind
there.
of laying there. It's just-
Yep. And he's laughing his way through death.
Mm-hmm.
And I like. I mean, again, I don't like the fact that Joker dies in this movie because I want to see him again. But I understand, like, hey, it's the '80s, late '80s, early '90s. The hero's got to win. The Joker, the bad
Yeah,
guy's
I mean,
gotta
if you
die.
back it up as meta and like really think about like the comics,
Yeah.
a lot of the times in the comics books,
Yeah.
Joker spends a lot of time trying to break the Batman and get him to kill somebody.
Yeah.
Or at least get him to kill him.
Yeah.
Which is really, really dark theme-wise, but it's one of those things like, yeah, it's kind of like one of the goals of Joker for a
Yep.
chunk of time.
Yeah.
I think even still runs on today where Joker wants Batman to break.
Yeah, he does.
Come over to my side.
That's his goal.
And in this one, it's kind of like, well, Batman killed a lot of people and the Joker.
Right.
Eh.
Is the joke on Batman in the end? That's the
Yeah, is
question.
it maybe? I mean,
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. It's just like it ends kind of awkwardly.
Yep. And then so the last Alfred with the car.
Yeah, and Vicki Vale in the back.
Yep. And he says, Bruce Wayne will be late. She's like, I kind of figured that would be happening.
Yeah.
That end music and the last when it crawls up the cityscape and you see Batman and the bat signal and all that.
Yeah.
I like it. I like the ending to it because it gives us that. Like this adventure will continue in some way, but I like how in the letter to the city he says, "If evil, you are safe for now, but if evil comes again, I will return."
Yeah, and that's why they named the second one Batman Returns.
Yeah. But I think it's cool because it suggests that the police can handle this theoretically.
Even though all we've seen is ineptitude
ineptitude
and corruption,
right? So maybe that's part of it is that it's like, okay, I'm taking a step back, and maybe within the story with Vicki Vale, it could have been. They could have grown closer, and that could again what we talked about earlier. And
I mean, it's kind of one of those things we talked about earlier. If you're really going for those themes of love and she can't handle it, whatever, she should have just ducked out. I'm done.
Yeah.
I don't want any more part of this. Instead of showing this ending where there's kind of like, oh, she's waiting in the car.
But you have to admit the magnetism between Basinger and Keaton, it's legit.
It's pretty good.
They do actually kind of like each other, and they're showing it through their characters. And I felt like between Alfred and everyone was pushing for it, and it was. I think it could have been something. Again, it's not what we got. We got a different perspective on that. But yeah, I got a kick out of it. Okay.
I mean, so that's kind of what
it's Batman 1989.
Yeah.
I think it's an imperfect movie.
Yeah.
I think it's got some flaws. I think if you look at it and you go the first half an hour or whatever is Batman's internal brain trying to figure out who he is and Bruce Wayne, you could apply that filter to it and have that criticism and analyzation happen, and it would make sense. But the real truth of it is that it's a weird one that starts out
clunky
and it picks up once the Joker shows up, but there are moments of clunk even after that.
Yeah.
Nostalgia is a hell of a drug.
Yeah.
A lot of people love this movie, and I'm not saying that I don't love this movie.
I mean, it's like even though I was here criticizing it and whatever, it's kind of like I enjoyed it when I was a kid a lot, and then even now as a day, it's like I still kind of enjoyed it, but I have to admit, it's like this thing is very, very flawed, and has a lot of clunkiness in it.
Yeah.
But I still enjoyed it. It was kind of one of those things where it's kind of like, wow, like the nostalgia glasses were like torn off my face, and I'm like, oof, man, this thing is not that great.
It's rough. And I think we'll probably discover that with Batman Returns as well.
Yeah.
I think there'll be some nostalgia kind of glasses that are going to get shattered again. But I think that's important. It's important to validate the power that this movie or product or whatever had in your childhood.
Yeah.
And that it's okay that you liked it as a kid. And it's okay to be critical as an adult.
Yeah.
But accepting that, there's a value in it for kids and there's a value in it for adults. And that's kind of what that is.
Yeah, and I mean, we did get an amazing joke. Jack Nicholson just chewed up that movie.
An iconic character that nobody will soon forget.
Yeah.
All right, well, we've made it an hour and 20 minutes.
Wow, I didn't think we were on here that long.
Well, we have been. Thank you for hanging with us. Thank you for sticking with us. We have more to come as the weeks go on. Our new schedule will be Sunday mornings, so this episode will come out on Sunday morning. And if you have ideas for what you want us to talk about, or if you have competing arguments or you have a competing discussion, we are open to that. I know there's been some conversation regarding the Ghostbusters 2016 review. We are open, like literally I would be delighted to be disagreed with, because different perspectives are valid.
Yeah.
Like if someone says, I think 2016 is a masterpiece. All right, cool. Walk me through it.
Yeah, I mean, that's like one of the things, like here, you hear us disagree on certain points of things, but we walk on from it. We accept it.
Yep.
Like Aaron is allowed to enjoy his stuff the way he does, and I'm allowed to enjoy his stuff the way I do.
Yep.
I mean, that's kind of what is about, like, having opinions is.
Yeah. It's the power.
And it's not like, I need those W's. I need to win.
Yeah.
No.
The power of the nerd and the geekdom is it's not about the W's. It's about the learning and understanding and expansion and
having fun with it.
Yep. Gotta have a little fun with it, because if you do it if you do it really boring all the time, there's not even fun to be had.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was Batman 1989. We will pick up with Batman Returns in the next episode.
Mm-hmm.
And in the meantime, if you're interested, send us things, adelayedteacher@gmail.com. We'll be doing Dune in the future. Star Trek, Star Wars is coming.
Yep.
Lots of fun stuff to still be had. And we will see you in the next one.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
The raspberry flapovers will be out in a moment. The kitchen is closed.
You've been listening to the Nerds by Screenlight podcast, presented by Create at Morgan Productions, located in Fort Morgan, Colorado, USA. For more information on our production house, other podcasts hosted here, and further details, please visit www.createatmorgan.org. You can find us on Twitter at the handle CreateAtMorgan. Create at Morgan is a school club at Lincoln High School, our alternative education campus in Morgan County. Our sponsor is Aaron DeLay, a language arts teacher at Lincoln. Send any feedback to adelayedteacher@gmail.com. Thank you for listening to our podcast.